Terminull Brigade is the next best addition to the ever-expanding roguelike genre. It is a hero class-based roguelike where essentially you're going to pick your specific character, go into a couple set different levels, pick up perks along the way, upgrade your character, and eventually just gain enough XP and specific currency so they're able to go back to the main menu, upgrade their character, and go back in on a higher difficulty and essentially constantly upgrade and have an even better experience. The team at Terminull Brigade actually reached out to me to do this video, so big shout out to them. But I wanted to do a complete honest review from myself about how I felt about this new roguelike, and spoiler, I already absolutely love it. We're gonna go through a couple different aspects of this game, it being like the general gameplay, the levels, the character, all the different perks, abilities, and stuff like that. We're gonna talk about things I kind of think that need to be better and things that I think Terminull Brigade absolutely just succeeds, goes to the stratosphere on, and again, this ever-growing, ever-evolving genre of roguelikes. Now, before I get into the video, know you can follow me over on YouTube and Twitter at Byrdman778. Give a thumbs up on this video. Let me know a character that you're seeing me going through and talking about that you like the most in the comment section down below. Subscribe and become a member. Now let's get right on into it. Now first, let's kind of talk about the stories and levels of this game. No real set story that I'm feeling so far, but at the same time, all of the different levels definitely feel different from one another. Really pretty much start off right now with two choices between either this place called Mobius, which is going to be this like Neo-esque city. I definitely get like cyberpunk-esque vibes from this, and all the enemies are definitely focused into a lot more like distance damage, a lot like lasers and stuff of that sort, versus the Charred Ruins, which is your typical junk apocalyptic kind of vibe. Enemies are definitely explosive and very melee focused. As you go throughout these levels, you're essentially going to be doing your basic level by level combat. There's going to be certain levels where there's going to be kind of like a little quest you got to do, whether it's like shoot viruses out of the air or defeat enough enemies to get a better prize at the end, stuff like that, to kind of break up the basic just kind of like flow of, you know, go through, kill rooms of enemies, and then move on to an eventual boss. Speaking of that though, there's going to be mid bosses between this, there's going to be regular bosses, and there's going to be a final boss that you fight at the very end to get even better loot and essentially finish out your run. As you are going through these runs, you have the ability to increase the difficulty depending on what exactly you are wanting to focus on right now. So if you're starting a fresh new character, you'll start off at level 1 or 2 and eventually move your way up to 3, 4, and then, you know, honestly, you can go all the way up to 10 eventually. And obviously, as you do that, those rewards that you're getting are going to increase as you go. You're going to acquire source code, which is going to be important for your talent tree we're going to talk about later. You're also going to get these modules along the way that essentially are going to help build up your character. Again, we'll talk about this here in a quick second, but every different level is going to give you a different module color that you can kind of focus into. So if you're focusing into the blue and purples, you want to focus Mobius, versus the orange and red that is going to be the Charred Ruins. But overall, going throughout these levels and kind of the feel of everything, I really like it. I think the maps themselves are well designed, has a lot of upward mobility and stuff like that. It has a lot of differences between them. So you have certain runs where, you know, you just clear the room, go to the portal, you're done. And then you'll have other times where you're going into a room, moving kind of like midway through it, and then you'll just immediately jump into another room right after that and fight specific like mid bosses and stuff like that. So again, it feels like it changes it up a little bit, has a good flow to it. And again, I really do enjoy the enemies themselves. I think they all have really good differences between them and makes you kind of go, well, you know what? I've been having difficulty with all the melee enemies and Charred Ruins. I'm going to focus on Mobius with this specific character just because, you know, the distance between me and those targets is more advantageous. Now let's talk about the characters. There's a bunch of different characters that you can play as, and each one of them encompassing a different kind of like style that you would really want to play with. So if you're somebody who's like really focused into abilities, Aurora is going to be really great for you. If you want to do like run and gun, slice and dice, you want to stick with Blade. If you like the soldier-like characters, you go with Colonel. If you like explosives and blades and stuff like that, Max is your guy. Gloria is going to be your gadget-focused character. And then finally, Heckness is going to be kind of that just like all-around gunner. Each character is going to have a passive that's going to be kind of just unique to them and exactly like adding a fun little different ability. They're going to have a cast skill. Typically these are going to be something that is going to mainly just like help you as the player versus maybe doing just like damage on its own. Now there are cast skills that do just specific damage, but Again, like I said, this is going to be kind of more for you. You're going to have a signature skill that's essentially going to be your main kind of like focus ability. You're going to be throwing out these like a lot more than you're going to be doing probably that cast skill. And then finally, you have your ultimate skill. That's going to obviously be that big mama jumbo that you're going to be using on big groups of ads or bosses as well. Each character has a proficiency tree. Now this essentially, as you level up that specific character doing runs, you're going to gain extra abilities that are going to help you throughout every single run. So Air Combat Master, during the duration of your minor skill, weapon damage is increased, stuff like that. You're going to have access to new weapons that are going to obviously help you throughout your run. And then you're going to have access to new effects for your run. So these are going to be abilities that you pick up along the way. You don't have current access to now, but again, obviously, once you unlock this, it'll go into that pool of things to pick, and it's going to honestly be a lot more efficient than the ones that you have now. Each character has a character story, so you're able to learn a little bit more about them rather than just like, what are their abilities? Do I connect with this character on a deeper level? Because I think the writing for the character is really solid. Finally, for each character, you have a combat terminal. Now, we talked about these modules from, increasing the difficulty of each map that you're going through. Now, these combat modules are set up into a couple different rarities. You have your gray rarity, which is going to be one singular hexagon that is just going to have, a basic 2-part to it. So again, blue is going to be skill power and HP. Purple is going to be power and HP, stuff like that, where it's just giving you a basic up. Then you go into green, which is going to be 2 of them stacked on top of each other, and it's going to add 1 extra passive skill. So for this one, it shows extra skill damage. Once you move on to the blue ones, the blue rarity, you're going to start getting a bunch of different funky designs that are going to start filling in those weird pockets that you see here along the tree, because each different character has a different, setup for this. So right now we're on Aurora. I swap over to Blade. It's going to look a whole lot different than what Aurora's did. So again, all these are going to fit in different ways for each character that you play. But for the blue one, it's also going to add on another passive skill. Obviously, you go on to the purple one, it's going to add a 3rd passive skill. And again, as you rank this up, the actual like baked in attributes are always going to increase. So again, you have orange and blue, it's going to be weapon attack power 24, shield 18. And then once I move to purple, it's 32 and 24. So again, it's going to increase as you go up, all the way into gold, which is going to add a 4th passive while also giving you a unique ability. Now you really want to focus on these unique abilities because they will definitely help out your character in the long run. So on Aurora here, I have this 5-piece red. When I release my primary skill and it hits an enemy, it reduces the cooldown of my minor skill by 1 second. So this can be really huge for pretty much any character that you use. But overall, you're wanting to essentially fill this out, get those attributes that you want to focus on the most filled all the way up to 9, just because obviously that's going to give you the better rankings here on the side for your attributes. And also you can look at exactly what traits that you have here now that you're going to be moving on to the run with. You can also boost these over time when you get certain currency up here so that you're able to, get a little bit better stats on each one of these. You also have access to that talent tree. So again, we were talking about that source code that we were getting from each one of our runs. We're going to put these in and it's going to be into a different tree, just depending on what we want to focus into. So the green tree is going to be all your health. Red tree is going to be attack and like skills. And then blue is going to be your Tycho coins, which is pretty much the main currency whenever you're buying stuff in the shop during your run. Obviously, each tree is going to have essentially like a capstone at the end. It's going to be a better ability, but you have to feed your way up into it. So I wanted to move my way up to this primary skill cap limit increased by 1. I had to make sure that I moved my way through both of these parts of the tree. So I moved my way up so that both of these final ones right here would move into the capstone and unlock it. But overall, I really like this tree setup. I think it's nice and basic. It's easy going and definitely can focus this into specific areas. We're going to talk about here in a second the actual perks and why that is important. Now you're going to be picking up perks along the way, and these are essentially going to be just like those characters that you're going to essentially focus yourself into throughout a run. So if I'm somebody that is like, I really want to do a lot of crit damage, I'm going to go in Samira, the Lawkeeper of Luck, and he's going to give me different stuff for my crit rate and my crit damage multiplier. So you have this kind of broken up into 3 different sections. First up, your active perks. perks, which is going to be all your basic skills, your weapon, your reload, your dodge, your minor skill, and then your primary skill. So all those getting boosts and different abilities depending on what you pick. Your passive skills, which is just going to add different random abilities along the way that, you know, you don't really have to focus into one of these things. You know, if I'm like, I just want, you know, Samira just for like this extra crit damage multiplier, I can just do that. And then I can pick, you know, Lockkeeper of Games and use their perk ability instead. And then you also have these duo perks. So obviously as you are going throughout a run, let's say I'm getting the thunder and also the games set up together, I'm able to pick up exactly which perk that I think is best for that. So I can do the thunder QB, where QB attacks can trigger falling thunder. You also have items along the way that you're going to be picking up. So all of these are going to give you just random little passive skills, but as you are collecting them and getting doubles, quadruples, or sextuples of each one of them, you're going to get set bonuses. Those are obviously going to change over time. You can have like a 2 that essentially is just going to give you no extra skill damage, but once you go to the 4, it's going to add an even bigger ability on top of that as well, just depending on exactly what it is. But you also have items that are going to be gold rarity. They're going to give even more special abilities just on their own. So, you know, you'll have things like the farther away you are from an enemy, the more damage you're doing, or even just, you know, dodging an enemy will make you invincible for a second. Stuff like this is things that roguelikes absolutely need to succeed, and so far Terminull Brigade is hitting all those marks with like items, talents, all that fun stuff. Now just kind of wrapping up all the character things together, the characters themselves, the combat terminal, the talents, the items, the perks, I think is everything that a roguelike really needs to have, and they did a really solid job on it, making everything feel a lot different from one another, making everything feel, you know, really conducive depending on what character you want to pick. It makes me like really want to do a bunch of random runs testing out different things. Now let's talk about some of the things that I think could be a little bit better, but I will emphasize that as I am playing this, it is just a beta currently. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to change once the game actually launches, but these are just a few things that I think that kind of just needed improved along the way. First and foremost, some of the enemy AI can be a little wacky sometimes. I had a couple different levels where I played where like enemies like practically like just did not move and like just let me pretty much attack them the entire time. So hopefully that feels like a pretty like low level issue. It feels like something that will definitely be fixed before launch. Some of the maps tend to feel a little bit the same at times, but that is kind of what a roguelike is. You're kind of doing the same thing over and over and over again. But you know, it'd be kind of cool if there was a little bit more, I would say, random generation between levels. Also, I noticed at times that some of my characters' abilities would activate a little bit longer than they were intended to. Great examples, Aurora, her ultimate. There was a couple times where like it was pretty much still just staying active as I was fighting other enemies, even though it was like completely over and done with. But you know, can't really complain about having extra damage throughout a run. But yeah, it just felt like a little weird at times. And things that I think it did really good with. Again, I think the characters are absolutely amazing. Again, I pretty much picked up everybody and had an entire run where I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be my main forever, but let me try out this character real quick. And then I played them and they're like, oh my gosh, that's my new main. They are absolutely amazing. They do a really great job of making all of them feel really great in the combat flow. It makes it really interesting as somebody, again, who is used to playing a lot of roguelikes, being able to jump into this and be like, wow, this does feel really good and polished and a solid experience all around. Now, overall, would I recommend playing this? Absolutely. Yeah, I think this is great. It is definitely a wonderful addition to the roguelike genre. I am, again, big fan of a lot of other big name roguelikes out there. And this is one where I'm like, okay, I could probably put a lot more time into this than I thought versus those others, because there's something just like unique and different about this that I haven't really felt in other roguelikes out there. But again, definitely make sure you're picking up Terminull Brigade. It's gonna be available on Steam. I will have a link in the description down below so you're able to pick it up yourself. But again, let me know in the comment section down below what character you've been picking out and what you're having fun with. What is a character that you're interested in? What's a perk you're interested in using? What is some content for Terminull Brigade you'd be interested in me playing? All those fun things, please let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video, subscribe, and become a member, and follow me over on YouTube and Twitter at Byrdman778. Guys, thank you so much, and thanks again to Terminull Brigade for sponsoring this video. Big appreciation there, and hope you all have a great night, day, or whatever it may be.